6th.
Certainly does. Ryan Nobles, thank you very much. Let's get some more on all of this. Joining us now, CNN senior law enforcement analyst Andrew McCabe. He's the former FBI deputy director and also the author of The Threat, How the FBI Protects America in the Age of Terror and Trump. Also with us, CNN senior legal analyst and former assistant U.S. Attorney Elie Honig. He's the author of Hatchet Man, How Bill Barr Broke the Prosecutor's Code and Corrupted the Justice Department. Elie, when you look at who's targeted with these new subpoenas, as we just saw, are these investigators after an inside account of what actually was happening inside the Oval Office on that critically important January 6th?
I think that's exactly what the investigators are looking for here, Wolf. This is an aggressive move by the committee. It shows us that they are dead set on getting the truth, or at least as much of the truth as they possibly can. And I think what we're starting to see emerge here is sort of a two-track strategy. On the one track, you have the deep Trump loyalists, the people that I think the committee understands are very unlikely to cooperate here. Your Stephen Miller, Kayleigh McEnany, Steve Bannon, Michael Flynn types who we've seen subpoenaed. I think the committee understands they're going to have to dig in and fight those people, perhaps hold them in contempt, perhaps send them over to DOJ for potential prosecution. But there's a second track where I think there's some hope that some of these people may give productive testimony. For example, in today's batch, Keith Kellogg, the committee said the reason they're interested in him is because he urged Donald Trump, as the attack was going down on January 6th, to send a tweet to his followers to call them off. So there may be some people here who are not quite as well known who may be willing to provide important information.
We will find out relatively soon. Andrew, some of these officials were at the rally that morning. Some were at the White House on the 6th, January 6th. How important is it for the committee to get a firsthand account of what former President Trump did on that day?
Well, Wolf, I think it's absolutely essential. As Elie was just saying, you have a real focus now on people who are in physical proximity to the president on the day of the events in question. Maybe not necessarily people who are engaged in substantive discussions with him about those events, but who would have seen others engaged in those discussions, who could testify about what they saw the president doing or who he might have been talking to or other interactions that he might have had. Those are essential pieces of evidence. It's very important for investigators to look beyond kind of the center main players of the conspiracy or the alleged conspiracy that they're looking into and look to those folks who may provide really important corroborative evidence around the edges of that group.
Elie, is the Justice Department's handling of the Steve Bannon criminal contempt referral going to be a test case for whether the committee will ever get cooperation from so many of these longtime Trump loyalists?
That decision, Wolf, coming from Merrick Garland, we expect soon, is going to be so important because it's about so much more than Steve Bannon. It's about, are there any teeth to these subpoenas at all? Or is it just a free-for-all to defy the subpoenas with no consequences? Because if DOJ does not prosecute Steve Bannon, you can bet they're not going to prosecute, let's say hypothetically, Stephen Miller, Kayleigh McEnany, if they defy today's subpoena, Jeffrey Clark, who we saw defy a subpoena or refuse to answer questions last week. So there's a crucial message that DOJ is going to send one way or another with their decision on Steve Bannon.
Andrew, if the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, doesn't prosecute Steve Bannon, how does the committee try to get the information they clearly need?
Well, it's going to be very tough, Wolf. It's going to be very tough because, just as Elie said, that would be a very clear message to every witness, all the ones we've seen subpoenaed so far and all the subpoenas potentially to come, that they essentially can play this waiting game. They can outlast the committee. They don't have to provide information. That's going to bring what could be a torrent of information and facts and detail about what happened on this attack on the Capitol and scale it back to a trickle at best. It will hamper their efforts to find out what happened here.
Elie Honig, Andrew McCabe, guys, thank you very much. Just ahead,